Ihasaan Gardee is the Executive Director of the National Council of Canadian Muslims. He joins me now from Montreal. Mr. Gardee, it's good to see you again. What's your reaction to the bill unveiled today by the Quebec government?
Well, I think we were anticipating this bill, and I think many communities were anticipating the release of this bill. It's deeply troubling. Essentially, Muslim women and others who are visibly religious, or wearing visibly religious attire or symbols, are waking up to a different day. And when this bill is passed, which it appears that it will be, it'll essentially result in textbook state-sanctioned discrimination, creating a second-class group of citizens as opposed to other Quebecers.
What are you worried? So if this bill becomes law, and as you say, all indications are that it will, how will it change life for Muslims in Quebec, and in particular, as you and I have talked about before, in particular for Muslim women? How will they be feeling? What are you concerned they might face from others in Quebec society?
Well, I think there will certainly be a feeling, and there is a feeling of being, visibly made into an other. And that it'll have a number of impacts. It'll have an economic impact in that it could restrict career choices for Muslim women who want to contribute and who, as we know in Quebec, there's a higher level of unemployment already that exists for many in the Quebec Muslim community. It could have an impact on investors and those outside of Quebec, whether they would decide if they want to do business in Quebec or not. And there'll be a security impact. As we know, we've just passed the recent anniversary of this second year shooting of the shootings in Quebec City, and we had the attacks in New Zealand. There's a real concern that this law will embolden people who might be thinking about or have these hateful ideologies and views to make them think that they can now act on those, and there's a real concern around that as well.
The government argues these measures do not specifically target Muslims, that they target all religious symbols worn by any group in the public service and the workplace. So how does the bill, in your view, single out Muslims?
Well, the bill is written in a very religiously neutral language. And I think that, yes, other groups will be impacted by this. But in our view, this bill is targeting a group of individuals who are already facing setbacks and discrimination in the society, and it's exacerbating that problem. This is about not just about one set or one group of individuals. This is about minority rights, Peter, and a majoritarian view of trying to override the rights of a particular group and to create essentially two classes of citizens. And it's extremely short-sighted. And it, in our view, will be damaging to Quebec's image as a society that is inclusive and prosperous.
The bill does allow for those who currently wear religious symbols in the workplace in public service in Quebec. They'll be allowed to continue wearing them if they already have that right. There's this grandfather clause. Does that soften the measures for you at all?
In our view, the grandfather clause does nothing to stop the current civil servants who wear religious symbols from being subjected to discrimination and contempt that's going to emerge as a result anyway. We worry about the fact that this bill will be seen by some who already hold these kind of prejudicial views as a license to perpetuate Islamophobia and exclusion in the workplace from the get-go. Essentially, this law tells Quebec Muslims and others working in the public sector who have or choose to manifest their religious identity that you don't have a future here, and you're not wanted, and you're not one of us. And this will alienate civil servants who are currently wearing the hijab from their colleagues, and those who have other religious symbols. It'll be something that is a divisive measure. I heard in Monsieur Legault's announcement today that he was saying this is something that would bring Quebecers together, and we think this is something that will do the exact opposite. It will exacerbate and create further division.
Let's finish on this. The bill invokes the notwithstanding clause of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to block any court challenges. So what can you do about fighting this bill, whether in court or other ways, once it becomes law?
Well, we're looking to at a number of different strategies. We're going to be studying and examining the law quite carefully to see what legal avenues are available to us. Understanding that the notwithstanding clause is being used here. We're looking at how can we work with our other allies and other levels of government and other organizations to try and find ways to talk to not just the government but talk to Quebecers and to explain to them why this bill is damaging and why it will be something that will have a negative impact, not just on the small group of people that are, or the group of people that are being targeted and will be targeted by this law, but on more broadly on the society. And the idea that this bill is being introduced with the notwithstanding clause written into it, we believe is a tacit admission that it would not stand constitutional muster. All right.
Ihasaan, Gardee, thanks for your perspective tonight and your response to this legislation tabled today in the province of Quebec. Good to talk to you. We'll talk again.